Welcome to this week, Who's the Champ? I'm your host, Chris Helms. You know, I love sitting in this chair and I love talking to all the wrestlers that I get. But now this is one of the interviews I have been looking forward to. You know, I followed his career in the WWE and I got to see him live in Charleston for the MLW show. You know, he was in the main event with Killer Kross and is the rude dude, Matt Riddle. This is my guest this week. You know, I want to go ahead and I want to jump into it because I got so many questions that I've just been dying to ask. So let's go ahead and let's just jump into it. You know, Matt, I want to welcome to this week's show. You know, and I mentioned the first time I ever saw you live was in the main event at the Charleston Music Hall back in November when you stepped in the ring with now the Major League Wrestling heavyweight champion, Killer Kross. You know, what was it like being in the first main event for MLW in Charleston?
You know, for me, to be honest, it was just another day. I'm in a lot of main events, for championships, But being in there with Killer Kross, the guy's a stud. I've been sparring him for years and training with him for years. And he's top notch. He's a top tier athlete. And nothing makes me feel better when I go to a main event, especially for MLW, and I get to perform with somebody like Killer Kross. So that was outstanding. But also, I'll say this. MLW, Charleston, South Carolina, dude, a home away from home. It was awesome. That was our first time there, and it was amazing. The reception we got from the crowd, the people, the fans, the people in the streets. It's a beautiful city, and honestly, I can't wait to be back there April 12th, when MLW puts on another banger of a show. And hopefully I get my, another shot at Killer Kross. He's my friend, sparring partner, but I still want that MLW Heavyweight Championship around the rude dude's weights.
Bro, I'm telling you, that main event was killer. Y'all had the fans on their feet from the moment y'all walked out to the end. And if MLW was making a statement, absolutely. That main event right there made a huge statement. And making a huge statement, a lot of things that I hear when we talk about you, and we hear a lot of names in the business that are considered real bad men to mess with. You know, this is a combat sport industry. It might be entertainment, but it's combat sports, and you have a huge combat sport background with MMA and with the Ultimate Fighter with UFC. Can you describe your background with MMA coming into wrestling?
Growing up, big fan of the professional wrestling, but unfortunately, your parents won't take you to pro wrestling school. So I had to figure it out. So I started amateur wrestling. And then after I won a national title and state title, went to college, and it kind of just progressed from there. But honestly, the main goal is always to get to pro wrestling. But at that time, I didn't think I was big enough or had the right look. And MMA, when it comes to the UFC or mixed martial arts in general, there's weight classes. And if you beat everybody up, you get to go to the show, right? So there was no grooming there. I just kept training, kept fighting, kept beating people up until I made it to the UFC and I was on the Ultimate Fighter. And that was it. And then even near the end of my career, I was on a 5-fight win streak, multiple finishes, submission of the night, So I don't know. For me, it was always just came natural, fighting people and just, putting and I like testing myself, And I'm not a big team sport guy. I'm more of an individual guy. If I fail, I fail. If I win, I win. So for me, it was a no-brainer, MMA. And then eventually I was lucky enough to come full circle into professional wrestling. And I got a great home like MLW to, do what I love in front of thousands of people all over the world. So,
One of the other things that I always had the chance, I did a little wrestling in my day and everything. But, when you get in the ring with your buddy, a sprawling partner, like you did with Killer Kross here in Charleston, I have to ask, are the punches a little snug? Are y'all a little snug in the ring?
The better I know you, the more snug. It's kind of messed up. It's like I think it's that old saying, you always hurt the ones you love. So I feel like in professional wrestling, I would even say in real fighting as well, like say the UFC, if I'm friendly with somebody, I'm probably gonna throw as hard as I can, and it's no disrespect, it's just the job, but it's also a level of comfort. So with Kross, there's a level of comfort where I know what's gonna hurt him too bad or what's not, so I can kind of let it rip, and honestly, for a majority of the MLW roster, I'm pretty tight with them. I've been working there for a while, and a lot of us just go at it. So that's kind of my style. I don't like to hold back. I'd rather say sorry later than not do what I'm supposed to do now.
You know what, bro? When you get to know people and everything, you just gotta lay it in. You got to be believable these days. You got to be believable. But when we talk about being believable, you had so many different incarnations of Matt Riddle, the character, the man. Which incarnation is the rude dude or the original bro? Was that more of you? Which one would you say is you just up to 15?
Well, I would say the rude dude is a version of me that is tired of just being too nice all the time. And I don't. Some people would say it's a heel, and you could say that, but at the same time, I think I'm just more realistic version of myself. While when like the original bro, when I worked for that other company, the original bro was kind of a goofball kid. Like if you had told him to watch his back, he would look and try to look at his own back, stuff like that. Well, the rude dude has a little more common sense. Rude dude's fought in the UFC. Rude dude's wrestled everywhere under the sun. I've held championships everywhere, and I'm a threat. I'm a pretty big deal. So I think that's the difference between characters. But at the end of the day, I'm always nice to the fans. They're the reason why we have this job and this, especially in Charleston, South Carolina. They came out in droves when we were there. And, I know they boo me. I know some of them hate me, but that's why I'm there. You can hate me today, but even after the show, even if you boo me, I'll probably shake your hand. And if you want me to sign an autograph, I probably will because at the end of the day, I'm a nice guy. But when I'm in that ring, when I'm being the rude dude, it's a different character, and I think people, understand and they respect it as well. So.
Absolutely. You got to be your real self with all this. To be in this business, you have to be your real self. But one other comparison that I get, that I guarantee you get a lot, is you're compared to a Hall of Famer the whole show, Rob Van Dam. What what do you think when people make a comparison between you and Rob Van Dam? Is it your mentality, your ring inside, the way you move? What's the comparison?
Oh, I get it. Yeah, the comparison's there. I mean, I've hung out with Rob multiple times. We kick it, we burn it down. Rob's the man. I think growing up, I'll be honest, I looked up to him as a wrestler because I liked his he hard hitting. ECW style wrestling. It was amazing. And then I like to think of myself as a merge of RVD and Kurt Angle. You put those two guys together, because I do some dives and some flippies, and I got some kicks and some submissions. But then with the amateur background with with the wrestling and then the jujitsu, I feel like I get that Kurt Angle in there too. But at the end of the day, I'm the whole effing bro, not the whole effing show. But Rob's the man. I wrestled him at MLW Battle Riot a couple years ago when I won, and dude's a stud. And congrats to Rob as well. He just had twins.
Yeah, he did.
So I also have had twins. So me and Rob have a lot more in common than just wrestling. We got twin kids. I can go into more details, but Rob's the man, and there's definitely a comparison there because I watched him growing up, and I was like, how can I be this cool? And it happened.
Absolutely. That's so cool to be, looked at in the same caliber as someone like Rob Van Dam. One of the other things that I heard, especially in the crowd at Charleston Music Hall, was, I mean, we were on our feet the entire time, yelling when Arn Anderson came out, when C.W. Anderson came out, but we all were clamoring for that main event. And when y'all came out, the one thing that I heard in the arena a lot from the fans was, wow, he's bigger than I thought he was. What do you say to people when they look at you and they say, wow, you're bigger than I thought?
I think a lot of it with me is I wrestle barefoot. Most of these guys, especially, at the Fed, a lot of these guys wear boots. A lot of these guys have lifts in their boots or a cushion or like almost like a platform. So these guys look humongous, especially next to me who's barefoot. But in real life, I'm 6'2", 6'3", 220 pounds, and I'm shredded. So it's like, I'm just as big as most NFL players, maybe not the offensive line, but I'm a running back or I'm there. I'm pretty physical. And then if you add the skill set too, and I feel like also with me, it's how I carry myself, I feel like when people see me, people either want to fight me or hug me. It's never like nobody doesn't care. It's usually one or the other, and I think it's just posture, everything else, and I think, like I said, the size bigger than most people think is because when you're standing next to say someone like Randy Orton, who's 6'6", 6'7", and 300 pounds of muscle. Granted, I'm 6'2", 6'3", and 220 pounds of muscle. That's still pretty big, but when you're surrounded by giants, it's even Kross. Kross is probably like 240, 250. He's like 6'2", 6'3", 240. So he's 30 pounds bigger than me, and he's not, dude, Kross is big, you know. But and sometimes I tend to forget because I live in this world of giants that I'm fighting all the time. But in the real world, I'm basically a giant too, Like the one time I went to China, I was huge. I was huge in China. They don't make them like me over there. But yeah, dude, it is what it is. I just try to do the best I can, stay healthy, stay strong, and yeah, that's what I'm doing.
We've been talking about the Charleston show, and y'all done so many other different things. A Battle Riot, y'all were just at center stage doing some tapings. If someone has never seen an MLW event, but besides on YouTube, but in front of them, being in the crowd, what can fans hope to get when they come to a Major League Wrestling show?
I'll tell you this. I've been working for MLW for years now. Every show we go to, it's sold out everywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Chicago, New York, everywhere. And then last time we were in Charleston, South Carolina, sold out. This time around, MLW knows the city a little better. I know the spots I want to go to check out. I understand the venue, everything. So I think next show, April 12th, MLW is going to be insane. It's only going to get bigger and better every time. I know we got the Don Gato tequila hooking it up. You got Danny McBride. And honestly, it was great the last time we were there, and it's only, like I said, it's only gonna get better. I think other people are trying to kind of hop on board, ride our coattails, because I think a couple years ago that AEW had a show there, but it failed miserably, and MLW is basically sold out twice, and I guess AEW is coming back around, trying to pick up our scraps. But that's just what it is, dude. MLW, if you've watched the product, if you know it, we deliver every time. There's flaming tables. We got the guys from CMLL with the lucha action. We got the hard-hitting strong style guys from New Japan. And then we got the top tier talent in the US, like myself, Kross, and I mean Hammerstone. I can keep going on. We're stacked. There's not a match on that card that you look at that couldn't be on TV somewhere or on one of the biggest shows of the year. And I think that's what we do. We deliver, we put great matchups on, and all the guys here are hungry. I was born hungry. I'm going to die hungry, and I stay hungry. And when we're in Charleston, South Carolina, when I know Don Gatto's there and everybody's there watching me, there's no way I'm going to dial it in. I'm going to go full tilt to the wall. And any fan that wasn't there last time but's going to be there this time, man, even if you can't get a ticket, watch from the window because MLW is insane. I've been there for years now. I don't want to leave. I think they tried to get rid of me. I said, no, I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere, MLW. But it's a blast. And I know for a fact we're all the boys, all the girls, the whole roster, we're all excited to get back to Charleston, South Carolina, and put on the show that we know we can and make that crowd just roar.
Absolutely. MLW is just so great. I'm so glad and happy that they moved their home base here to Charleston so we can experience it more often. um, you know, a big event just happened a couple months ago. You and Killer Kross, we're gonna talk about Battle Riot just a little bit. I've had the pleasure of having the owner and CEO of MLW here in studios with me, and we talked about this. And I remember when he announced Battle Riot, and he announced that everyone that was in it, and I heard when you were in it, Killer Kross was in it, Kruger was putting his world title on the line. Kushida was going to be there, and I couldn't wait to see. I waited to all the dirt sheets. I didn't read any dirt sheets, didn't read any online thing. Anything that I saw MLW, I was radio silent for weeks on MLW because I did not want to know anything. And then I got to see Battle Riot live, seeing Templara and Kushida open it up. Absolute great match. And then I got the chance. I was like, okay, this is 2 matches. And then Battle Riot starts. I was like, all right, let's get it done. Who pulled number 1? Killer Kross comes out. And I'm like, whoa, what a great way to start it. And then the Rude dude comes out. And then the last 2 participants is the Blood King, Killer Kross, and yourself, the Rude dude, Matt Riddle. How did it feel to get the ball from MLW, knowing that you two are the 2 biggest stars, or 2 of the biggest stars in MLW right now, and y'all got that honor to start the Battle Riot and be the last 2 combatants? Tell me your thoughts on that.
Honestly, I think for a lot of people it would be stressful. For me, I need that pressure. I need people to be like depend on me. I feel like if I didn't fight or if I didn't have a family, I don't know what I would do. I need the pressure. I'm like a piece of coal. I need to be pressed into that diamond. Without that pressure, I'm just a piece of coal. So for me, one, I love it. It makes me happy. It lets me know people depend on me and I depend on them and we can work with each other. And then to start that match off with Kross, knowing what he's capable of, and then Battle Riot, there was 38 other people that came into that ring. And when you start off as number 1 and 2, you work with 38 other people guaranteed. If you start and you finish, I got in the ring with 38 other dudes that night. But it was crazy. I did lose, unfortunately. Kross got the win that night. But I had no idea. But a bunch of the wrestlers and people from MLW, my girlfriend threw me a surprise party afterwards. I came home. I thought everybody was like ditching me and didn't want to hang out with me. I came home. There was like 100 people. Like the whole Battle Riot was at my house. And it was awesome. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of MLW and everybody we work with. And it was a real good time. And that match, I will say this, I was definitely a couple LBs less after that match because when you wrestle 50 minutes straight or an hour straight, woo, in Florida, I was definitely sweating. But it was a good time, and it feels good to know that MLW knows they can give me the ball and I can run with it, and they have other people like Kross and others that can also run with the ball.
And y'all did a little teaser in the match. You and Kross standing right across from the skyscrapers. And I think so many fans went absolutely crazy when they saw that happen. Could that be somewhere in the future that we could see the killer dudes coming together against the
The killer
skyscrapers?
dude. The dude killers, yeah, bro. Like I said, I'm a multiple time tag team champion. I mean, I've won when it comes to tag team wrestling, I've been there, done that. And if I could have a partner like Kross, even though he's the champ and I want that championship from him, at the end of the day, I could easily see the killer dudes winning MLW Tag Team Championship gold, bro. That would be insane. That's a great idea. I'm gonna hit up court, tell them to book it.
So one of the last things that I did is like when I got the chance to know that I was going to be interviewing you, I reached out to the wrestling community here in Charleston, and I wanted to some quick fire questions. Were they always, what did they want to know? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get to the first one. Okay. The first question that I always got was, "What is your favorite finish maneuver, not your own?"
I would say favorite finisher. Oh, man, that's tough. I would say favorite finisher has to be the RKO, the Randy knockout, and I do something similar called It's also called an RKO. It's called the Riddle knockout. Not as devastating as the Randy knockout, but it's up there. But I'd have to say that's my favorite finisher. Even when I was a kid, it just looked cool, you know.
Bro, there's nothing like the Riddle knockout or the Randy knockout. There's nothing like it. No one does a cutter like Randy Orton. And yours is pretty good too. So I don't knock yourself for that. Yours is good too. So you having an MMA background and also doing pro wrestling, who's the toughest opponents you ever stepped in a ring, in an octagon, a cage with?
Toughest opponent in pro wrestling, I would have to say Omos. I don't know if you
Ooh,
remember
I
Omos
do
from
not.
WWE. Big guy, giant. He's very green. He's a nice guy. I'm not gonna take it. Very green, but he's also like 400 pounds and 7 feet tall. When you mix those two things together, it's a recipe for pain. Not in a good way either. And then I would say MMA. My toughest opponent in MMA. I mean, I beat most of them. It was an actual fight I had, but sparring partner where I knew every time I sparred him, it was on. And that sparring partner was Forrest Griffin. Yeah, the
Ooh.
the guy who's humongous. I used to spar him. I used to train at a gym, Syndicate MMA, and it was Throwdown and Warrior Trades. But I sparred with Forrest Griffin a lot. And let's just say he's like 250 pounds, and he doesn't like getting hit. He wants to win every round. So that was fun. But he was a tough sparring partner for me. He was cool though.
Forrest is a beast. I love the way that he moved, and if I ever get the chance to talk to him, I would love to sit down and just talk to him. Forrest, and just like you said with Omos so big and green, but I can't imagine being picked up in the air by him and just being dropped, But hey, you're a tough bro, dude. You're the rude dude, so you got through it. And right before we go, I got one more question, and let's try to keep it, because there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of weirdos out there. But have you ever had any weird experiences with fans?
Weird fan moments. Uh, I mean, I've had some weird interactions. Like, so I wrestle barefoot. It's just what I do. I didn't want to buy boots, and I fought MMA and did jiu-jitsu for years, so it's just natural for me to be barefoot and compete. Uh, One time, somebody at a show was like, "Oh, your foot's kind of dirty." I was like, "Oh," and I picked it up like this, and they just licked the bottom of my foot. This was a random fan, and I was like, "Bro," it was a dude too. I was like, "Dude," and then he's like, "Sorry, I had to," and I was like, "You didn't have to."
Bro, I don't know how you could have done it. I don't know how you did it, but you know, bro, thank you so much for joining me this week. Man, the time flew. You know, I really appreciate you sitting with me, and can't wait to see you April 12th right here in downtown Charleston again. So, Matt, thank you for joining me this week, and thank you everyone else for joining me this week. I will see you next week right here on Who's the Champ.